Well, hello there and welcome back to the very latest episode of my Love Machine podcast. Now, today I've got a fascinating topic to discuss with you. I am going to be talking to you about how physical, mental, and emotional well-being can affect your partnership attraction, partnership communication, and heart-to-heart connection. Now, to help me along with this, I've got a wonderful expert. I have got Daria, who is the UK's leading women's holistic performance enhancement coach. That's quite a title. How are you doing, Daria?
Thank you very much, James. Wonderful introduction. I'm doing very well. As you know, last week I was a little bit with cold, so we had to postpone our podcast recording. But finally, as you mentioned, we are here, and I'm very excited to be able to share the knowledge I have generated for the last 17 years of practice and 21 years of education and observation of women in my clinical practice. They normally would be coming with symptoms of disease, right, and health problems. And I never would be talking about relationships, how are your partnership going, right? And they would be never thinking of me as this type of expert. But over years, I have noticed correlation. They would be struggling in this partnership and relation building area, and then they would be also struggling with different health problems like being overweight. That is probably the obvious one for when you have this body attraction, right, and feeling less confident and less self-worth. That is embodied on your body, and that comes as a weight gain. So I have very holistic approach and view to that. And you won't hear from me shame of the body, and it's all about embracing femininity here. But also they would be coming with, for example, hormonal issues, digestive issues, anxieties, lack of sleep, skin problems, right? And I always would be seeing correlation to libido, to the sexual drive, to the power of female in relationships. So other would be presenting too much masculine side, or would be presenting overbalanced feminine side, right? So this is how I started to think about this. And I also have experienced in my own practice with my own husband, so who is a human potential coach. And we had lots of deep conversations about it. We have a very long and successful relationship. And recently, I actually started to get questions from my female audience. How is your relationship? How did you know that this was the one? And actually, I started to speak to my husband. How do we create this healthy longevity of our relationship? And here I am. I said, let's talk to James, because I am really excited to share those few findings from my clinical practice.
Wonderful. So how did you meet your husband?
That is a wonderful story, and very funny story. So in 2004, I have arrived to UK. I'm Polish, and I used to be professional athlete. I used to play professionally handball on the, pro level. And unfortunately, my career finished with an injury, and I couldn't perform anymore. And just long story short, I decided to run away, change direction, and find myself, because I really lost my identity. I've lost who I am as a woman, as a woman, really, as a person. And I met my husband, and it was very interesting situation, because I knew someone who knew him, and I didn't speak English. It was my first month in London, and I went to the place where he worked with that friend who used to live with me, a colleague. And my husband came from work, now my husband, and he is Spanish. And, I want to give you already one tip here, the power of visualization, because as an athlete, you always work on visualization. There is a huge power of brain that is attracting what we think and who we become, right? And listen, that man is walking like with, and I always knew I will be with man from Mediterranean country. He's going to have this type of hair. He's, it is just a perfect picture of my love, right? And I never was so much into relationships because I didn't have time. I was that masculine female who would be driving into sports, right? So my boyfriends would be always giving up on me because I was faster and stronger than them, right? And I never had time. So I had to learn how to live with my type A personality and embrace it, that I'm strong, that I know what I want, that I know my goals. And I knew that I don't need a person for me who is going to fulfill those values. I needed someone who is going to bring much more actually femininity into my life. And here we go, Spanish man, right? And he was walking with that friend with this, I think she just came back from Spain, and he was just about to leave again to Spain with this nice flip-flops, with this beautiful t-shirt, and I'm like, oh dear. But then how I communicate with him, I didn't speak English. So I told to my colleague that I really like him. But I was very on the bracket shy. Like I said, I didn't have this relationship, I don't know, profile, call it that way. And I think I wasn't either confident or was like my self-worth as a woman wasn't there, and that usually comes a little bit from motherhood. So all of this stuff are we inheriting, and I didn't know how to break this down. And we just met. They set a date for us, and I remember the first try of setting a date was that my now husband told to my colleague, "This is the number. Tell Daria to call." And when I received this number, I'm like, are you kidding me? My mother always taught me is a man who comes first, right? And I'm like taught in this culture, and I'm not going to phone him, right? So, outside of not speaking English, I had that ethical barrier that wouldn't allow me to do. But Manel came from Spain. All is possible. You know what I mean? Very free country, free mind, long time in democracy. And I think we just entered the European Union in 2004. So opening up. And I grew up also in very Catholic way, you know what I mean? Don't wear long shirts, don't wear long trousers, short trousers, and all of this stuff you carry on with you. And then we met anyway, somehow we managed, and we had amazing date. I brought a dictionary with me on our first date because I knew only what's your name and how are you. So it was very exhausting mentally, but very powerful time. I think this helped us to give ourselves time and space and patience to know each other. And we had those different, we didn't look on this physicality. Obviously we attracted, but we had to bother about communication, right? So those things maybe went on second plan. But as I said, this physical attraction came straight away, right? And visually I knew that it was him. And I think in 2 months' time we started to date together. And, it's been like 16 years now, 17 years, I lost count, of being together. And our relationship is growing. We have a wonderful daughter that also came as a conscious decision. And we're happy that for a long time, we just been me and him, because we have learned to nourish and cherish ourselves. And now when those harder times are coming, when we are less together, we kind of know each other, right? So that is like short story.
What's interesting is nowadays, if that happened to you in 2022, there's apps on your phone, so you could talk into the app and it would translate what you're saying and back and forth, wouldn't it? So,
yes,
but
correct.
Then where's the fun in that?
Yes, exactly. And here you imagine you have dictionary, and I had to find every single word, and people were observing me, checking me, but it was a wonderful time. We went around London. It's like 6 hour date. Come on, who is having 6 hour date on the first time? So
Well, this brings me on to my next question, because obviously you had the physical attraction, but how important, and what do we have to keep in mind when it comes to things like physical, mental and emotional well-being when you're choosing partners and when you're with them as well?
It's a very deep and profound question, because the way I grew up in this Catholic upbringing never was about physicality, right? I always would have to cover my physical self, right? Maybe not to the extent like in some Asian countries, but yes, that is my mom would be saying, right? You never first, you never pay, you never this, and this is the upbringing I'm coming with. So for me, growing to thinking of this physical attraction is like, now I'm 41, and this is just now I am embracing my physical self. I've learned this. So in United Kingdom, that is partially good stuff, that there is no barrier with this. But the other barrier is we are not attracting the other things like mental, emotional, fitness and health of the relationship, because then we have too much of physicality, right? We're going into dates, we're going, we're paying for this, for that. And then obviously is the physical attractions, which is available very easily to everyone, right? So for me, I think I came from a different angle, from the like physical, mental and emotional side into physical self. But I always think it's about merging all of this in one place, finding the balance in between. Because right now we are like, I have 3-year-old daughter, and obviously there is a different relationship than we had. I sometimes have to, we sleep, but then we are like tired. We just, okay, darling, goodbye, right? But then anytime I look at him, I feel still the butterflies in my stomach. And that's what we have developed over those years. But it has been very long journey and lots of work put into that. So that is like an intro into this mental, physical and emotional fitness, which I think at the core is going to help create better relationships, because we're learning who we are at our center.
I love that. I think it's so important, because what you're saying is correct, because people go onto dating apps, don't they? And they will only swipe on someone based on the physical attraction to that person. And in reality, there's so much more. And I always tell people this. You can't base it on their height or their background or their star sign or things like that as people come to me. It's the whole package, and it's an ongoing journey. Now, if somebody is single and they want to get into a relationship, what can they do to start thinking about, because you said that you did the visualization as well, how can you start visualizing what you want to have, and so you can manifest it and make it happen?
I think it's so powerful question. Again, I did, as a starter, I even didn't know what I was doing. I just did like a comparison. That's what I want, that's what I don't want, right? Yeah. But I think when you develop this further, for me was always very important, and that a person who I am going to meet is matching my values, right? And values are changing, right? But they are core values that they're not going to change. For me, always family was very important. So from the beginning, when I met my partner, I told him, we're going to go to Poland now and then. I will be supporting my family financially now and then. We're going to spend Easter or Christmas. Let's find out what is the balance here. And I said this straight from the beginning of my relationship. And I think that is the problem. We often entering into the relationship dishonest with ourselves of what we really want from this relationship, right? But maybe this honesty does not necessarily come that we don't want to be dishonest, but maybe we don't want to become vulnerable in the relationship, because we are carry on our life events and life and things that make us unsuccessful in the past relationships, and we carry on this into another relationship. And there is a memory, right? The body is going to embody physically, mentally, and emotionally our traumas. So this is similar as I give example of pregnancy, right? When a woman goes into pregnancy, she has to prep herself, right? And this is between 3 months to 2 years of preparation. Then when she has, yes?
Are you referring to mental preparation, diet, health?
All preparation, mental, physical, emotional. That's what is that optimum, what I am looking for in my approach, right? So let's give the perfect scenario here. But the same should be happening when we are entering into some form of relationship, right? It is like, do we want to bring that garbage into our new relationship? And now we're going from one relationship, oh, I want to find substitution because I feel lonely, I feel someone does not love me, I feel frustrated, I have all these negative emotions. And then we want to bring this into another person. That person has their own energy and we're creating our own energy. And I think there is a time for disruption that this energy fields are communicating. This is not just you meeting a person and that's it. This person has their field and we have their field. And in my thing is optimize this field. Just see where you got hurt. Maybe you never had okay relationship. So, but you still do some prep, right? Because you're always going to be then operating on better frequencies. So those frequencies will attract better frequencies, right? And this is like a little bit work here from Bob Proctor, right? Keep operating on that. All this. This is not just the woo-woo-wow stuff, James. This is the same as in health and holistic health. This is not just woo-woo-wow. I will really kind of go deep down to root causes of our diseases and why certain things manifest in our body, right? So I would suggest do this prep before on your physical self, because that is first thing that you're going to show, right? And I trust me, because of my upbringing, I would be always saying that's not important. I just want to attract because I'm clever, I'm intelligent, I have my education. I would be like that, you know, to my beauty, right? I would be shame and shy of my beauty, right? There are triggers, as I mentioned, from me being the way I was upbringing. But this is important. So take self-care of your body, right? Then you have this mental health, right? Work out a little bit your garbage. You know what I mean? You don't need to dig into every single trauma you have forever, right? Because that is a lot often. But build the awareness. And I think that awareness is number one thing that I always will teach. Awareness of my behaviors. Because then that person is going to feel like, oh, that's too much, right? And then you've got this emotional fitness, which really is linked to your hormonal health and balance. So this mental, physical self works together. So yes, do little MOT before you enter in relationship.
That's a very important thing to do. When I first start working with someone, I do that with them a bit. I go over, I don't really focus on the past too much, but if something's holding them back, we have to really deal with that and get over that before we can move forwards. Do you have any advice on balancing your general well-being? I've heard a lot about from your website and from your post that you put about chakras, for example. So can you expand upon that for me? a bit more?
Yes. The concept of chakras, right? That is this holistic approach. But believe me or not, there is a connection between those chakras from traditional Chinese medicine. Like you've got the root, your sacral flow, kind of below your belly, stomach, your fire, heart is your heart. Then you have throat, which is authenticity and thyroid. Then you've got my insides, which is pineal gland. And then you've got spiritual side, which is everything outside of you, right? Like vitamin D is outside of you. So some of those things that I mentioned are, you can, they have tangible, like you can tangibly describe them, right? Like vitamin D, for example, or sunlight is your spiritual self. We know that our energy and aura increase once we have more vitamin D. But for example, of foods, that what foods can I eat to increase my feminine flow? And I come that in few moments. But certain things are like safety, security, that are kind of words and emotions that are less tangible, right? So yes, so when I've done work with Diana Minik, and she teaches a course that is called Food and Spirit, and she is a scientific nutritional medicine scientist. So she works a lot with science of nutrition and how our body works. But also she did that part from shamanism, chakras, traditional Chinese medicine. And I met her and I said, that is fascinating how actually this East and West coming together, right? It's just the different way of understanding a human body. And then I started to apply those chakras. And I've learned a little bit about this also on College of Naturopathic Medicine in London. But then I started to apply those chakras and this knowledge she passed me into my clinical practice. So when I saw women with like, let's say, weight gain, or with digestive issue or hormonal health problem like PCOS or endometriosis or fibroids, right? Or immunity issue, right? I always would be thinking, okay, what chakra is unbalanced? And there always was coming to the flow chakra, which is second chakra, and is actually related to our feminine self, right? Is our hormones, transformation of that, a feminine flow and feminine performance, creativity, partnerships, right? And I'm like, that's crazy, because then I'm asking them about what is your partnership like? And they're like, oh, I struggle to find partner, my partnership is bad, or I don't communicate, or the relationship is breaking down. And I'm like, that is just fascinating, right? So this is how I started to see the correlation. And then I would be giving in my plans, like lifestyle and nutrition plans, certain things to balance this flow part, but I wouldn't explain them. Oh, this is so you are better communicating with your husband. Oh, this is so you attracting more better partners, right? I wouldn't tell this because it's like a little bit, oh, what is science behind this, right? And I am about science and art of being. So when someone, just coming back to your question, so when you feel that you want to build a better relationship or partnership, or there is something that you struggle with communication, think of this flow chakra, right? And that is, like I said, just below our belly, is just the lower part of our belly. And make sure that your digestive system is working well. So your detoxification, your bowel movement, right? Sorry, I'm a little bit gross here, but that's important, right? You've got food that is rich in fiber. So we're talking about vegetables and obviously fruits. I don't want to follow any diets here, right? I just give a general healthy guidance. And then you can further personalize. Not everyone can eat all fiber or whatever, but generally fiber from fruits and vegetables, low GI fruits are good, like berries, raspberries, right? Think of color orange. So anything that is orange in food is perfect. So it's like papaya, oranges, red pepper, pumpkin. So those type of foods supposed to stimulate flow, right? They also very rich in vitamin A, and vitamin A is very important for female hormonal health, right? So when we start to dig deeper, we're going to find correlation to science. Think also of essential fatty acids, right? They very important for female flow and hormonal health. Because if your hormonal health, your estrogen, progesterone, and as well testosterone, and I discussed this in a few moments, are working well, obviously cortisol as well, that's everything is affecting your thyroid, so your metabolism is going to work well. But all of them, this is like you're going to have optimal physical chemistry. So you might don't see this, but the person who comes outside will see that you are more balanced in your feminine self. So then you have less traumatic events like being drama queen, you overthinking, you are, oh, he probably does not love me, or he loves me, or, I'm slim, I'm too small. You kind of becoming more connected to you because your hormonal health works better. And then you will manifest this outside. So your decision-making process, it is the assessments, right? We have to talk about some form of assessment before we enter into relationship, is going to be just better because your hormones are in better balance, right? So then you like around menstrual cycle, right? Comes PMS 7 days before and you are like, oh no, I have a date. And how shitty do you feel when you have date and menstrual cycle comes? This is the last thing you want to do, right? And most of women, and I think that's an important topic, James, to discuss. That's why I'm picking this up, because most of women are going to go through this craziness few days, right? And I wrote an article about this. Some women could experience that strong PMSs that they could be as high as depression and anxiety. And
wow.
It is PMDD, and they could even medication for that are drugs, antidepressive drugs, and women don't know about this, right? But a simple thing, as mentioned, just add those foods into your diet, which are going to support the blood sugar regulation and hormonal symphony. So all hormones are dancing together. This already going to improve your PMS. So you're not going to experience this roller coaster of emotions. So then you are actually a woman for 30 days of month, not for 14 days and then 14 days feeling shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because most of men do not understand that. So then you come in with this frustrated emotions about yourself. Suddenly in your eyes, you're gaining weight. You're feeling disgusting. You're feeling, that's the words of women I have seen, right? And I had these problems before because I had PMS, right? Now they're gone because I've applied what I'm sharing here. So yes, there is lots can be done, right? Water, like I said, essential fatty acids. So the oily fish. So this diet that is deprived of essential fatty acids, like low fat, low fat, go on low fat on processed fat. But things like avocado, nuts, healthy oily fish, obviously there is now conversation about where fish comes from, right?
Yeah.
I don't go into that. Yes. So balance with that, and water. Also anything that is liquid. Teas, like watermelon, they have lots of water. Melons, they have lots of water. So you see, you're nourishing yourself. So you're nourishing the cell biology, and that is going to improve the cell of your physiology. And then you're going to think about yourself better. You're going to look better because you think better. And the cascade comes, and then you're coming out loving yourself. And then who you're not going to attract? you know.
So you're saying that if you look after yourself and take control of your well-being and your diet, you'll become much sexier and people will be more attracted to you. And
Yes,
inner confidence as well, of course, that'll come into it, won't it?
100%. You
Yeah.
see, I do not believe, James, that there is a one thing. I do believe that there is a buffet of things that we should be addressing, little bit of everything. We're going to have amazing conversation tomorrow, and I will be then wanting to know what comes from your side and your understanding of it, because they are probably clues that you can get even better with attraction. But we are physical being living on the earth, so we have to care about our physical self. We do, and that is not to bring any negative emotions with body positivity, body shaming. You know what I mean? I just want that you love your body, but you also want that your body be optimal and be healthy. Again, concept of health is a little bit twisted those days. So yes.
What about exercise as well? Where does that fall into this?
Oh, I love this question. I love this question because from my observation, clinical practice, and I have many years of clinical practice, and I do lots of what is called functional medicine testing. I always look at female free available testosterone, and the testosterone is very often low, right?
Okay.
And that is maybe not to talk that this will bring us attraction, but the testosterone for female is very important. We focus so much on estrogen and progesterone when you start to read, but not many of us talk about testosterone. And testosterone is going to balance the other hormones, but that hormones gives us this love machine, James. Is the same hormone that is important for a man, that's why man is always ready, but is always important for a woman. And she is not always ready. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because other hormones are not balanced, and then man does not understand why this is happening. And many things can affect our testosterone, like our body composition, stress, for example, right? And stress is probably the biggest one in women, right? Also imbalances in estrogen and progesterone. This also is going to affect that. And the way I want to answer your question is, I am really, how to say, proponent of weight training for females. And you will see in the next few years, we're going to have more and more about this. And because physical training, like weight training, is going to increase our free available testosterone. And as a result, is going to improve the way female hormones work, right? So I don't want to say that we need high level of that, but we cannot be on just the non-optimum level of that. And when we are training physically that way, we are balancing our masculine self, because weight training is masculine. On the where would you put this? Is masculine self, is not yoga, right? But women, what they doing more and more yoga, dance, which is perfect, is in balancing their feminine self, but then we are forgetting about balancing our masculine self. And then we are entering into relationship without this strong confidence coming from our body, which comes from a masculine self, right?
Yes.
So I talk about the balance of both. And as a result of good weight training, the composition of female body change. And I've seen amazing results, female come in and they're like, oh, I got this job, oh, I changed the partner, oh, I got new partner. And I've seen this, and I've been not doing with them yoga and Pilates. That is cool, but I think the fitness industry needs to be a little bit more honest with that, right? So that's very important.
Do you think women are reluctant to do that because they're scared of bulking up too much?
Yes, that is just old myth that we need to just debunk, right? And like I said, we're going to hear more and more about this. They don't need to. You need to really be genetically gifted, and you need to train like crazy to have this type of body. You need to be also that body shape, and a body type, sorry, but that is not going to happen. We have just too much estrogen and too much progesterone and not enough testosterone to make us this. And if you've seen on the photos, you need to really dig into the history of that woman who actually did that photo, right? So most of women I have worked with and trained, they so excited about the body, they fit it into the clothing, but also they like posture wise better. So it's like both, James. Do a little bit of this and do a little bit of that. Just don't follow one type of exercise, like just Pilates or just yoga, right? Little bit balancing your masculine self as well.
Again, it's all about balance, isn't it? Doing
Yes.
a whole mixture of these things. We're coming towards the end of the podcast, and
Yes.
there's lots more I want to ask you, but I'm going to ask you one more question.
Yes.
And that is, you talk a lot about having this plan and how all these things can come together for well-being and diet and exercise. Do you have any rituals or things that you do yourself? Any tips every day? Things that maybe special teas that you drink, or exercises, or meditations? Any of these things?
Yes, I will be cutting this short because just I can see my battery is dropping down.
Okay,
Listen, James, I have long journey of working on my well-being, different parts of my life, different stages. Recently, what I have been doing is focusing on my mental side, on my sleep, because I've been mother of 3-year-old daughter. I've been breastfeeding for 2 years and 7 months. So my sleep was important. And I have learned one thing, listen to yourself, right? I don't push anymore how I would be doing in the past. But I wake up in the morning, I've got my breakfast. I never miss my breakfast. I always focus around eating whole vegetables, whole fruits. I cook everything from scratches, and trust me, does not need to be via Michelin dish. It's very simple. I practice weight training 2-3 times a week. But again, I've learned that if I cannot do it, I don't do it. I don't force it anymore, because that is even more exhausting. I nourish my relationship with my partner. So we talk a lot. We never leave anything to cool down, right? It's little bit space of action and reaction, but we giving ourselves that chance to express what we think. And trust me, I had crazy behaviors with with me in a relationship, but I decided to embrace this, that actually I was doing certain things, stop to be afraid of myself in this relationship, taking control of me, and and trying to transform and change the behaviors. Your brain is remembering all the stuff. Now it's just the matter of practice and maintaining what you have learned. These new behaviors. I drink water, basic stuff. I express my values in my relationship, in my family life, and me as a woman. And last tip is learn to self-care of yourself and nourishing yourself as a woman, because if you're feeling better about yourself, your relationship is going to be better. And I've learned that most of the time it's not about someone else or the partner, or he's like that, or he's like, it's often about ourselves, right? So that person trigger in us certain behavior that we need to work on. And I've heard this conclusion many times, and I think that is my conclusion, right? So that would be my short guidance. If anyone goes to my website, there is a ebook called Lead Yourself First, and that is starter guide with all my method. And there is lots of tools, like a very simple questions to answer, little guidance to nutrition, guidance to training. I put some exercises. So I think it's a great 28 days program for anyone to start.
Amazing. So much wonderful information here. So what is your website if anyone wants to find you? How
Yes,
would they go about that?
yes, thank you. It's www.hpmwellness.com.
Fantastic. Well, we'll be talking again tomorrow because I'm coming onto your podcast.
Yes.
I look forward to doing that. But today's been wonderful. I'll let you go before your battery dies. Have a great rest of the day, and I look forward to speaking to you again.
Thank you so much. Bye, James.
Thank you so much for listening. I'd love to give you a free copy of my latest book, which you can download right now from my website, jamespriest.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you could share the love by taking a few seconds to write a positive review on the iTunes store right now. See you next time.